make you want to move, make you get up in the morning, make you go out and get that bread. Hello, I'm AC Cash, and this is
The technician,
and this is
JD Boom.
and we're here with Pivot Point Investors. Pivot Point Investors, where we help you, the independent investor, grow your cash in the bucks. Okay? Make those pennies in the dollars. And we're sitting here, we've been chewing the fat, talking, coming off a holiday, just talking about investment ideas, seeing where the market's going. And the question kept coming up, the why. W-H-Y. Why we do what we do. And here at Pivot Point Investors, where we're trying to educate the public, take the common man, and make him make his pennies in the dollars. And we just keep thinking of why we do what we do and why you should know why you're doing what you're doing to help your family, help your income, help your prospects in business, just keep you motivated, keep you going. And so when we talk about the why, I look to Mr. JD Boom to see why is he doing what he's doing? Why is JD Boom, JD Boom?
Hey man, that's a great question. You know, for me personally, number one thing is legacy. A single guy now, had a couple wives, subtracted a couple wives, we're cool.
Give or take.
Yeah,
Give or take too.
Great people, just not great for me, right? Good for me, right? But great people, right? We had great children together, and so, you know, but that next generation, the legacy, you know, I got a Lil Boom actually working with us behind shooting video and stuff. So, you know, again, legacy, when you're talking about investing, regardless of the types of investments. In my family, when I look at both sides, people went and got an education, they went to college, go to school, do all this good stuff. You know, and they bought homes and they bought cars and they bought all this stuff, and the generation comes, generation dies. Now, my grandfather, George Dudley, rest his soul, he had some insurance. And then he also was a part of a group of men that he worked with in Birmingham, Alabama, that actually ended up dying. They had asbestos and they died from an aggressive form of cancer, all of the different types of cancer. His cancer specifically was colon cancer. And so in 94, I'm a junior in high school and he passed. But we didn't know that this law firm in Alabama reached out to my grandmother and the living widows. It was like 25 of them. And they received a class action lawsuit. They won over $100 million. But the crazy thing is the attorneys got about 70% of that.
They always get paid.
Yeah.
So they flipped it. They didn't get a third. They went and took 2/3.
Off of their anguish and pain. Right. And so all the widows split a little bit more than $2 million, you know, and between themselves, and then their heirs got paid out as well. So my father and my two aunties, they all received settlement, you know, into the six figures, you know.
And so I'd imagine that's one of the reasons that got you into becoming a wealth advisor, because you saw how the inequities for people occurred after that settlement, where guaranteedly the attorney's going to get paid.
Absolutely, but that's just one example of how the system is rigged when you don't know and you're not versed. It's just rigged against you. You know, and so for my grandparents my grandmother died when she was 91, right? My grandfather died again, you know, in 94. So that time period, she lived without him. At that point in her life, when she got that money, her deal was her grandkids and her great-grandkids and her daughter that was still alive, right? But didn't manage it the best way. And so some of the things that should have been purchased, instead of cars, you know, like when my sister, she got her college paid for Spelman, right? So that was a good thing.
It's a good thing.
You know, investing in equity, investment in the education into somebody. But a bunch of cars got bought. Not very many of them still being used right now. You know?
And so your why has come off of
experience from my own family, where we got an inheritance, but my grandfather didn't talk to us about stocks. He didn't talk to us about real estate. He didn't talk to us about business. He didn't talk to us about bonds. He didn't talk to us about annuities. He didn't talk to us about life insurance. He modeled it in certain things, and then my parents perpetuated the same thing. They modeled it, but they didn't talk. If they had talked the way I'm talking to Lil Boom at 13, imagine how much farther I would be and my sister would be, and so many different. So we got to accelerate that.
Okay, so we're understanding the why behind JD Boom. We're understanding why he believes in the markets, believes in insurance products for wealth creation.
Absolutely.
A whole lot of conversation we'll have in the coming days,
Yeah.
weeks, months, and years regarding accelerating wealth through insurance products.
Absolutely.
We'll have that conversation. So,
And a full portfolio. You know, a lot of times people will talk about assets and asset types and classes. Well, this is better than that. It's better than this. And I'm like, well, why does it have to be this or that? Why can't it be both? Why can't it be all? That's called a portfolio.
okay.
So, you know, those are the types of things we get into. Hey, you know, I can just keep going
Yes,
on
I
and on
do.
about
That's
that.
why
So
pull back
you got to
those
pull me
reins.
back, man. You got to pull me
the
back.
reins on
So,
JD Boom.
that's right.
So, you know, our resident advanced trader,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Jason, when you get kind of financial stardom when you're young, a lot of times you're not prepared. That's really what's happening with the rap industry and all that. They get a big sack, they get that bag.
Yes.
They're young, 19, 20, 21.
Oh.
You didn't get any
Just
kind
do
of basis.
stories.
You didn't get any kind of financial basis.
Oh.
But then when you see the old school rappers, they'll talk about how what they did, the gold chains, the cars, the videos, the rented places, the Bentleys that you couldn't even pay to get repaired. And they look in hindsight and say, hey, where would I have been had I known? And that's part of education. Now, if you don't have anybody older than you to tell you which way to go, you just drive that Maserati 120, 140 miles an hour down the highway and hope you get there safe.
Right.
And enjoy the thrill. Our resident technician, Mr. Jason, is well versed in all of those angles. And when we ask about the why do you do what you do? Mr. Jason, I ask you, with all of the analysis, all the years of bumps and bruises and learning markets and learning games, what's the why for you?
Why, honestly, was because I was raised in a world that judged us by the color of our skin. And quite honestly, I was very aggravated with watching my same colleagues, morely the white counterpart to be specific, do the same thing I was doing but being more successful. Or why are we both going to the same school but your parents are picking you up in a different car than my parents?
Okay.
You are going to a different neighborhood than where I'm going to.
All right.
Your clothes are better than my clothes. Why? What is the difference between the two of us? I know that they had working parents, I had working parents, but there was a disparity between us that just, it always bothered me. So I wanted to understand more, as they say, if you can't beat them, you join them. So I said, well, let me better understand a culture that's obviously a little different from me. And what made it even more so was I was in New York. So we had what is also known as the Jewish community, and they,
Which part of New York?
East New York.
Okay.
And the way they kept themselves together, it literally blew my mind. All their businesses were done together. All the money stayed together. Everything was through family. If I went to a butcher and asked him, hey, do you know somebody that can help me with paperwork? Oh, here's my cousin's number. He's a lawyer. You go to the cousin, you say, well, my mom and dad were looking for life insurance. Oh, here's my other brother's number. And you're like, man, all of you guys are simply all connected to each other. What's going on with my own people? And I didn't see that at all. Every one of us were so-called doing our own thing. And I decided that I wanted to learn and then share at the same time.
Okay.
So that's when I decided to take that journey to looking into the things that we decided not to look into, or the things that being raised in the projects, they like to say, oh, it's the white man's thing. So I wanted to know, well, obviously it must be working, so let me go find out about this same thing and see what can it do for me. So
Okay. Yeah, and when it comes to wealth creation, it's just a thing. You can put a color on it, but it's just a thing. Now,
Yeah, it's green power.
That's
There's no
it.
black
That's
power.
the
There's no
color of
white
money.
power. It's green power.
That's
And I'm
for
a
sure.
big proponent of green
Of the
power.
green. I believe in the green. That's right.
Absolutely. But I will tell you this. The one thing I have learned in my lifetime, that we as people tend to believe when it's good, it's going to continue to be good. When it's bad, it's going to continue to be bad.
Okay.
And I don't believe we plan enough for the flip, for either one to come, right?
Yeah. And that's that financial planner
Yes.
in JD Boom.
Hey.
But actually, and I can deal with my why, but I want to talk about as it pertains to this market right now.
Okay.
Because there were some interesting things that Jason talked about today regarding the markets, how we look at it just at this point in the calendar year.
Absolutely.
And at this point in the cycle as it relates to the government and the market. So just to bring it home, and then we can continue with the why. What are we seeing in the markets right now as it pertains to this time of year?
Well, I mean, if you want to bring it all in line, to be honest, it was always crazy to me how my fellow brothers and sisters would know the latest NBA scores. They'd know how much every single artist on the planet was worth.
Okay.
And I would think if we applied the same fundamental knowledge to what's just going on in the world, it would make us very successful people in the green world. So, for example, September, a simple month. It's just a month of the year.
Right.
But there are things about this month that is particularly significant. First thing is, for most major investors, third quarter is the time where you reevaluate your portfolio.
Right.
You look at your holdings and say, man, I've had a great year, 8 months of wonderful profit, but now I would like to reallocate, switch up a couple things, make a little bit of different plays, different moves. But of course, if you do that, that means you have to what? You have to release some of the things you're currently holding.
All right.
So that's going to bring one level of speed to the market, or volatility is the technical term. Then you have the government. September 30th of every year is considered the end of the year.
Right.
So as of October 1st, it's 2021. So all government holdings, their stocks, their bonds, their treasury, everything has to get liquidated. They're not holding anything going into the next year.
Right.
So when you have a lot of bond sharing, and bonds is really nothing more than the invested interest of a particular party stuff. For example, the state might be working on building a bridge, so they release bonds so that we can invest in them building the bridge, and by us using our money, they're guaranteed they'll give you back an interest or a percentage rate for loaning your money out for them to build a bridge. So you got all those different things going on, and that makes it for a very, very volatile month. Combine that with the fact that this is one of the greatest election years possibly in history. There is so many hands at play right now, so it makes it for a volatile but profitable September.
Okay, I can feel that. That's excellent information. You have to watch it when you ask that technical analysis to come on and come in there.
Because bonds are just debt.
And
You
then-
can sum it up in one word, debt. But you gave the example
Right.
of exactly
It's right. It's
what
loaning.
debt in motion
It's
is.
loaning out that money for an
Yeah.
interest rate. You know,
Absolutely.
So the question I have is, I want to see this phone of Mr. Boom. I want
Oh.
to see if Mr. Boom, he's the grand prognosticator of good things
Oh,
and bad
boy.
things in the stock market, and I want to see if he's still holding steady at the
Oh.
close of this market.
Oh.
So. Yeah, okay, so I just want you to show the people just the color of
When
money.
everything is green
Color of
and
money.
it's just
That means
It's-
Boom's still on his game,
it's
even
green.
when the market's heading south. Boom
Yeah.
is still playing in the
yeah.
green.
And
Okay.
today was a rough day to start,
Mhm.
but you're talking about an incredible rebound, and
Mhm.
that's the power of diversification. That's the power of the right company.
Okay.
Because you can have 5, 10, 15 major players in one industry, but you got 2 or 3 that will doggy paddle when all of them are drowning.
Okay.
And that's
Okay.
how you pick.
Okay.
That's how you pick the winners, baby. So
Okay.
I thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
yeah,
Appreciate the
Boom.
shout out, man.
Boom
'cause,
staying in the green. He believes in the
that's
color of
right.
money.
It's green power, man. That's what I'm saying. That's my
What's
word.
green?
That's my word. Green power. That's the
green
word
power.
of the day.
And
man.
that don't mean you drinking kale or nothing.
No,
No, that means
no. Green power, that dollar, man. That's
Okay.
dollar,
I
man.
got
So
you.
let's do
I
it.
got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Mhm.
Very good. So I'm feeling all that energy. I'm feeling the motivation behind what you're doing. And
Absolutely.
me personally on my
Yeah,
motivation.
what is it? Cash, man. What motivates cash?
He ain't telling us. He
No.
don't
No,
You don't wanna
no,
tell us? Come
no,
on,
I keep it
man.
to myself.
Come on.
Well, I've had a few mentors in my lifetime.
That's right.
My first mentor was my father.
Oh, boy.
Sidney
That's the
Timothy
man.
Koch Sr. And you know, there's a lot of lessons.
Say his name again?
Sydney Timothy Cox Sr.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
and a lot of lessons. Every day was a lesson, and you know, as a guy who had his own business, a number of businesses we can get into at another time.
But what were his two primary businesses? What did he do? Because that's where you learn entrepreneurship from an early age, which is different than me.
Okay.
That had two parents that worked
Mhm.
for large entities, organizations, right? You had entrepreneurship yourself from the gate.
That's true.
That's a big difference.
That is different, and you know, understanding where people come from,
Right.
you can see what motivates them. My father, he was a pharmacist,
Okay.
and you're talking about a pharmacist in Miami. Anyone knows the Overtown area? He was in Overtown.
70s, 80s?
What's that?
70s,
70s? 60s, 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Wow.
And you talk, and he had a grocery store, you know, and he had a steam cleaning company and some other businesses.
Wow.
But you know, in the 60s, if you're a black man trying to open up a business, the last thing you did was get your own building and then, you know, have your apartments connected to that and then employ people, family and friends in the neighborhood. You just didn't do it. And financing was a very difficult thing to get. So that whole bringing that package together, working with other people, getting money where you can get it in order to facilitate your dream, that was a whole different setting. Here we still fighting BLM, Black Lives Matter, and we're talking about that today, 2020s, when we're talking about the 60s, where, you know, you had to make it, you had to go get it yourself. It wasn't, it was just a whole different thing. But I saw his struggle and his determination to be self-sufficient. And so he was always about, I have 3 brothers, 4 sons. We're always targets over those years. So all of that makes you say, how can I get my own bag? How today can I get my own bag outside of what somebody else is gonna help you get or maneuver? It's you getting in your quiet space and thinking, what can I do to make my life and the life for the people behind you better? Through self-determination, not through anything somebody's gonna give you. And so that drives me to make sure that he had a saying. The saying was, it's a poor rat that only has one hole to run into.
Oh, wow.
Poor rat
I can
that only
see
has
it.
one hole to run into.
I can see
They
it.
clogged that one up, you better have a second one. They clogged that second one up, you better have a third one. A backup plan. That deals with diversity. That deals with understanding the market at that particular time. You know, if it's raining, you better be selling umbrellas.
That's
If it's
right.
hot and dry, you better be selling some sunscreen.
That's right.
You gotta be ready to pivot
That's right.
because you don't know what's around the corner.
That's right.
And here at Pivot Point Investors, we believe in that diversity. We believe in understanding market conditions, and we believe in self-determination. So, not to go too far down that road,
Yeah.
we're gonna put a bookend on that.
Yeah, we can pause it. We can
Okay.
pause it.
And say, you know, Pivot Point Investors, we're here to help you understand the market, learn some basics, learn some fundamentals, learn entrepreneurship, learn, you know, how to find your why. And whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter. You know, if it fuels you, we're here to back that.
Absolutely.
And so today, on behalf of,
The technician.
there you go,
Very good.
and
JD.
I'm AC Cash, and we're here for you at Pivot Point Investors. We'll see you next time.